Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome to episode 226. That's right, we're celebrating 5.5 years on the air. Here's to another exciting episode. It's such a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for tuning in every Saturday night and engaging with me on social media thereafter. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please continue to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. And remember, all episodes of A Moment of Zen are available on our YouTube channel. We upload Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern via digital streaming. And you can also check us out on your home TV platform directly on our channel at mox.yourhometv.com. In this debut We Play It Forward segment, we're spotlighting two changemakers using their platforms for purpose. And today's headline says it all. Play, purpose, and powerful partnerships. Two titans are playing it forward in the fight against Alzheimer's. Joining me are Bruce Weinstein, a philanthropic powerhouse and executive advisor dedicated to purposeful impact, and John Lee Esq, a founding member of Horn & Lee, former Queen's ADA, and a legal strategist representing some of the world's most influential corporations. In our Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift and our Expert on the Microphone series, today we're joined by Jessica Ursman, freelance writer and beauty editor for publications such as Forbes.com, Harper's Bazaar, Allure, Elle, Pop Sugar, and so many more. She joins me today to chat all about how the media is shaping the conversation around aesthetics and how she identifies and breaks down the latest cutting-edge skincare treatments and products in her work. In the Clean Collective segment, proudly brought to you by Society Brands and Primal Life Organics, we're talking about what every woman should know about the men they love. Because while most health conversations focus on women, we often overlook the silent symptoms, toxic triggers, and hormonal havoc affecting the men in our lives. In the Cespera Express segment, in our health tip of the week, we're chatting about often overlooked areas when it comes to skincare, your hands and neck. In the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, today's story is truly one for the history books and for the heart. He lost 80% of his body in a blaze and found 100% of his purpose. Joey Dimeo's radical second chance at life. We're chatting resilience, medical miracles, and the power of unexpected love. How Joey Dimeo turned unspeakable trauma into a love story and a message of hope. Stay tuned for Funk Roberts coming up next. In the Clean Collective segment brought to you by Society Brands and Primal Life Organics. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Westbridge Academy in Essex County, where students are seen, heard, and understood. Neurodiverse K-12 students, many facing ADHD, anxiety, depression, or aggression, discover strength through connection. With compassionate educators, therapeutic support, and the latest technology, students can master academics and go further, exploring music production, financial and automotive literacy, social media awareness, and wellness. Visit westbridgeacademy.org to learn more.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Clean Collective segment, proudly brought to you by Society Brands and Primal Life Organics, where clean living meets conscious conversations. Today's segment is one we all need to hear. We're calling it What Every Woman Should Know About the Men They Love. Because while most health conversations focus on women, we often overlook the silent symptoms, the toxic triggers, and hormonal havoc affecting the men in our lives, especially those over 40. Did you know that after 40, a man's testosterone levels decline by about 1% per year, and over 38% of men over 45 suffer from low testosterone symptoms, but very few are ever diagnosed? Now add fluoride exposure, chronic inflammation, and poor oral hygiene to the mix, and you've got a recipe for fatigue, weight gain, and even cardiovascular risk. Joining me now is Funk Roberts, a 4-time Amazon best-selling author, a global authority on men's health, hormone balance, and functional fitness for men over 40. At 56 years young, Funk is living proof that age is just a number. Once overweight and battling low T himself, he built his empire, Funk Roberts Fitness, over 40 Alpha Brotherhood, and Funk supplements to help other men reclaim their strength, vitality, and masculinity naturally. His training systems have helped over 15,000 men worldwide, and his testosterone-friendly lifestyle is the blueprint for midlife reinvention. Welcoming now to the show, our expert on the microphone, Funk Roberts. Welcome, superstar.
Thank you, Zen, for having me here. And that was a great intro. I love it. Thank you. I appreciate you.
I'm so excited to chat. Let's dive right in. Toxic mouth, toxic man. We've all been told that that fluoride is good for our teeth, but what if the very thing meant to protect our mouths is actually quietly sabotaging hormone health? Research from the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology suggests that high fluoride exposure may lower testosterone levels and disrupt thyroid function. And when you factor in mercury fillings, chronic inflammation, and oral bacteria, it's no wonder so many men over 40 feel like their energy has flatlined. So, Funk, can you break down the connection between poor oral health, including fluoride, amalgams, and gum disease, and hormone decline in men over 40?
Sure, absolutely. So let's talk first about gum disease, right? Or periodontitis. That's chronic inflammation in the gums. Now, when you have chronic inflammation, this spikes your cortisol levels. Cortisol is a stress hormone. And yes, we do need cortisol throughout the day. Like right now, my cortisol levels are high because we're talking in the mornings, cortisol levels are high. But when you have chronic cortisol or chronic stress, this destroys and kills your testosterone production because cortisol, when it's chronic, is a villain to testosterone, which is our number one male hormone and our hero. So we want to make sure that, when it comes to gum disease, we get that checked because not only does high cortisol kill testosterone, but it causes a lot of other health issues and also belly fat storage. So that's one of the major struggles that men over 40 have to begin with. And let's move into fluoride. So fluoride, specifically in water and in toothpaste, that disrupts the pineal gland. The pineal gland's role is regulating melatonin and downstreaming our hormonal rhythms, which includes testosterone. And then when it comes to mercury fillings, mercury over time will disrupt the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. Those two, the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, are the control center for testosterone production. Testosterone production happens early in the morning when you're in deep sleep, starts in the hypothalamus, goes to pituitary glands, and then pituitary gland releases some hormones that go into testes. So when that is disrupted, then your testosterone production, your control center, can't work when it needs to. So yeah, definitely taking care of oral health is going to be one of the things that men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and the women around them need to focus on.
Wow, that is so eye-opening. You just tied it all together. You are brilliant. And honestly, something every woman should hear, right? And oral hygiene, it's not just about fresh breath. It's a full body conversation. I mean, love your man, start with his mouth. So let's talk about your tongue. So traditional Chinese medicine and modern functional medicine agree that your tongue can be a mirror to your internal health. A white coating might signal low testosterone or sluggish digestion, to my understanding. Scalloped edges, hello, adrenal fatigue. I mean, the symptoms are there. So, Funk, how can women look to their partner's tongue, literally, for early signs of hormonal or digestive imbalances? And what should they do if what they see raises a red flag?
For sure. So the tongue is like a diagnostic map, right? When you stick the tongue out, you can see and tell a few things. Like number one, pale tongue. If you have a pale tongue, that's potentially low iron, or that means you have a sluggish metabolism. And that's often seen with low testosterone, right? A lot of people have a hard time getting rid of that extra weight. The second thing you would think is thick white coating. I think you talked about that. That really dives into the gut issues, right? Gut issues that you may have. And when you have gut issues, that messes with testosterone and estrogen. Men do need a little bit of estrogen. Estrogen's a female hormone, testosterone's a male hormone. So men do need a little bit of estrogen, but when there's too much estrogen, that not only kills testosterone, but that causes belly fat storage, and a whole host of other chronic health issues that men may have over 40. And the last thing is like cracked or red tips in the tongue. That is a sign of high stress or adrenal fatigue, like you talked about, Zen, and even low-grade inflammation. But all of those things, again, we talked about high stress, we talked about cortisol, adrenal fatigue, and low-grade inflammation, or even chronic inflammation. All of that kills your T levels. So as a woman, you look at your husband or a brother or your father, stick out your tongue, take a look at that, listen to some of those symptoms: pale tongue, thick white coating, crack or red tip, and it's time to make the appointment to the dentist for sure.
Wow. Now let's chat the danger of root canals. Few people actually realize these can harbor infections that silently tax the immune system and burden the heart. So, Funk, why should women be concerned if their partners have had a root canal, especially if they're experiencing fatigue or inflammation? Is there a better path forward?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Root canals trap bacteria in the jaw, and the bacteria doesn't just stay in the mouth, right? Once bacteria is there, now it starts to leak into the bloodstream, and it becomes like a low-grade system infection. So that does lead to chronic inflammation. Talked about that before. Immune suppression. So when your immune system is down, it's very difficult for you to fight health issues along with hormonal, optimizing your hormones, optimizing your testosterone, and then cortisol elevation too. Again, that stress, right? We keep talking about cortisol and we need it, but all of this will lead to a decline in testosterone. And of course, a lot of times we go to the dentist and they say, "Hey, man, you need a root canal." But think about it. If you see that your husband or the man in your life has brain fog or low energy or joint pain or even mood swings, then maybe you think, "Oh, wait a minute. I think 2 months ago he had a root canal, or 1 year ago he had a root canal. Let's start to look into this. Let's get tested. Let's do an inflammation test, right, to see your inflammation markers and address any oral health issues that may be the cause of a lot of these symptoms that a lot of men have."
Yeah, so let's talk about your specialty, testosterone after 40. It's no secret that men change after 40, but it's not always just aging. Low T has been linked to belly fat, mood changes, low libido, and even receding gums. You mentioned all of this earlier, but the good news, after doing some research, and I know you might echo this, the right lifestyle can do more than any prescription ever could, right? So can you debunk some of the myths around testosterone therapy and share natural, sustainable ways for men to boost their T levels starting at home?
TRT, which is what it's known, is the only option. And that's a massive myth. We got to think about what testosterone replacement therapy is. What it will do is it will shut down production of your natural testosterone, right? Which most guys need. They need testosterone production in their body. But here's the thing: 95% of men do not need TRT, do not need testosterone hormone replacement. They can get all of this naturally. There is 5% of men that will need it. If you've ever had a brain injury, remember I talked about testosterone starting, the whole production starting in the hypothalamus. So if you had brain injuries or something that happens in your brain that doesn't signal the hypothalamus to start that production, of course, then TRT. Or if you've had any damage to the testicles, because again, that's where all the testosterone is produced, then you're going to need TRT. But that's a very small percentage of all of the men around the world who flock to TRT. Number two, TRT is not steroids. That's the biggest lie. Let's call it what it is. Testosterone replacement therapy is steroids.
Wow.
Period. Right? It's you're using synthetic testosterone. I talked about that being exogenous, right? It's not natural. And usually it's either testosterone cypionate or enanthate. Those are the types that are used. But these are anabolic steroids, the same exact compounds that are used by bodybuilders or athletes throughout the years. So when people think it's therapeutic, clinics will tell you it's therapeutic. You really just need to understand that it's steroids, and you're, putting steroids into your butt to help you. So that's the second one. It is steroids. And the last one is TRT is harmless. man, it is so false. TRT can cause testicle shrinkage.
Oh,
As I mentioned before, TRT will shut down your production, your natural production. So you depend on it. As soon as you start taking testosterone replacement therapy, you need it for the rest of your life, because as soon as you come off, your natural testosterone levels will plummet, right? Will plummet to under 100. And we want to get it up to 600 nanograms per deciliter. It also bounds to estrogen. Like you'll start getting really high estrogen. So, and there's a host of other chronic health issues that come along with being on such high dosage of testosterone, specifically if it's not natural. So we really, truly have to focus on changing our lifestyles, right? First, we need to get checked. We need to work out in a way that helps our testosterone levels, helps our growth hormones, short total body workouts, nutrition, the lifestyle that we have, eating foods that will naturally increase testosterone, and staying away from foods that increase estrogen, that increase inflammation, that increases your cortisol levels. Also, a lot of sleep is really key, because that's when testosterone production happens, recovery, and supplementing in some ways to make sure you have the vitamins and minerals for your overall health and your hormone health as well.
wow. I love how you brought it back to the basics, right? Sleep, strength, detox. It's such a hopeful message. Your body wants to heal. You just have to give it the right
For
tools.
sure.
Now, the midlife male wake-up call. Okay, so let's be real. Bad breath, bloating, and burnout aren't sexy. They're but they're not just aesthetic issues. They're signals from the body, and if we're paying attention, they can be life-saving, right? That's the core of this conversation. So what do those three B's, breath, bloat, and burnout, tell us about a man's hormonal, digestive, and metabolic health? And how can couples work together on cleaner routines?
Yeah. So when it comes to all of these three things, let's start with bad breath. Bad breath is a sign of poor gut health, right? And poor gut health or liver overload equals a poor detox. Your body can't detox and get rid of the things that it needs to, and that also leads to higher estrogen level. The second thing you talked about was bloating. Bloating is, again, estrogen dominance. When you see men with big bellies, 100% they're very estrogenic. Like that's where you can see, oh, that person's estrogen. They have a lot of estrogen, but they can also have leaky gut. They can also have a sluggish digestion. And again, estrogen, testosterone, that linkage, high estrogen, you're going to have low testosterone, and as well as a lot of other chronic health issues. And then the burnout, right? Burnout is a sign that you're going to have low energy, probably not getting a lot of sleep, probably have high stress, right? Chronic stress. And you maybe have poor insulin sensitivity. So those three B's, what that looks like is, okay, there's a lot of unhealthiness going on here. Your breath is bad, your bloating is bad, you're burning out. We've got to together take a look and see what's going on. Let's go to the doctor. Let's get our blood work done, right? It's got to be something where, if you're the woman, you can't nag. Like nagging is the worst thing to do, because that's probably going to push your husband or the male in your life away. What you want to do is try to do it together. Let's both go to the doctor and get our markers done. A lot of women in the 40s, 50s they also have hormonal issues, menopause. So, together you can fix one little T. On the other hand, menopause in ways, by doing it together, right?
They say couples who detox together stay together. And when it comes to oral health, having a shared routine can turn into an act of intimacy, even empowerment. Think tongue scraping, remineralizing toothpaste, and fluoride-free mouth detoxes. So what does your personal oral routine look like, Funk? And how can women introduce this to their partners in a way that's empowering, not shaming?
Yeah, again, I mean, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about things and like fluoride-free toothpaste, right? I use fluoride-free toothpaste, like a charcoal-based toothpaste, in the mornings. I have a bamboo toothbrush. I do tongue scraping, and the tongue scraping that clears bacteria, helps with the gut. Fluoride-free toothpaste, of course, we talked about what fluoride can do to our bodies. And then I fast once a week. So I fast 20 to 24 hours once a week. Again, just gives my digestive system a break. And then water. I drink water, a gallon of water a day, at least. I just took a drink of water for those listening. A gallon of water a day. And one of the things you talked about was not to nag, right? This is all about love and support and doing it together. So I know, like for my wife and myself, we're in the stage now. I'm 56, she's 54. We are really focusing more and more on our health and doing things together, right? If she buys one thing for her health, she'll buy me the same thing, and vice versa on my end, right? So get the detox oral kit. Start doing things together. And again, it's not about nagging, right? It's not about perfection. It's about progression, right? It's going to be slow. It's going to be uncomfortable at first. But when you're doing it together, it could be fun. Take a shower together, brush your teeth together in the shower. Like, make it a little bit romantic as I can be. But doing things together is always the answer for me when it comes to a husband-wife duo.
Oh, I love that. When health becomes a shared ritual, it transforms the energy of the relationship. Plus, a fresh kiss is always a win.
100%.
All right, we're running short on time, but I definitely want to get to this last question. So it's from hormone havoc to alpha living. All right, so your transformation has inspired thousands, and I know many listening and soon watching want to help their brothers, husbands, fathers, or partners take that first step, but change can feel really overwhelming. So, Funk, for the woman listening who wants to help her man feel like himself again, what's the very first action step you'd recommend?
Okay. I'm gonna come very, very clean here. No BS. You can only do so much. Okay, I'm gonna give you the steps, but I'm just letting you know that it has to come from him, and it has to come from him only. There's nothing you can do or say or buy or anything if it doesn't come from inside. But if you do have that buy-in, if your man says, okay, yeah, let's go. First and foremost, get checked, right? We first have the conversation about his health and everyone's future. How is his health in his 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s going to affect children, grandchildren, retirement, and travel? When you have that conversation, my wife had that conversation with me. She's like, listen, I want to live until I'm 100 with you. I want us to see our great grandchildren walk down the aisle. I want to go on hikes. I want to travel when we're old. I want to do this together. And I can't do that if you're unhealthy. I don't want to be taking care of you. I want you to be taking care of me. And that little shift in the mind for a man gives men purpose. In our 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, specifically from retirement, we lose purpose, right? We don't have that purpose. So we need to regain purpose. Purpose of being healthy for our family, that we can still serve our family, is massive. So just have that conversation. It's not a nag. It's real. I mean, you want your husband or your brother or your father or whomever it is in your life to be with you for as long as possible. And the only way that happens is if we together start with health. So having that conversation is first. Once you have that conversation, I'm telling you, you're going to get a lot more buy-in because it's going to hit the purpose. And then it's about getting blood work, getting testosterone levels checked. Get to the doctor, get your blood work done, get testosterone checked, testosterone, estradiol, cortisol. Just get a full panel done so that you know, and we all know where we are, because we can't do anything unless we know exactly where we are. And data is going to give us the map. Okay, I got low T. Oh man, I need a little bit more vitamin D3 and K2. Oh, my estrogen levels are high. Okay, so next step, I know I said one, but the third one is get a program, right? Find a program where someone can help and guide nutrition, workouts, recovery, and community. That's the biggest thing. Allow your husband or man to find a community of men who he can bond with, who are on the same journey. But those first two things, talking, having that talk, and getting the blood work are probably the first two steps, because once you get that, then you have buy-in.
So simple, so doable, and so effective. Ladies, you heard it. Start small, stay consistent, and watch your man rise. Funk, thank you so much for being a voice of transformation and proof that midlife is just the beginning. I learned so much from you today, and it was so much fun chatting with you.
Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate you and appreciate all the listeners and everyone who are going to take action with what I talked about today.
Oh, they definitely will. You're very convincing and compelling. For those of you listening, you can follow Funk on the gram at Funk Roberts Fitness, or dive into his signature Over 40 Alpha programs at over40alpha.com and over40shred.com. And remember, he's also on YouTube at Funk Roberts. Remember, your man's body is talking. It's time we all learn how to listen. For more clean collective wisdom, you can visit Primal Life Organics at primallife.org on the gram, or head to primallifeorganics.com. You're listening to a Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Primal Life Organics. Still brushing with chemical paste and fluoride-era formulas? Upgrade to Primal Life's tooth powder, powered by enamel-building nano-hydroxyapatite and real organic cinnamon oil to naturally whiten, strengthen, and restore your mouth's mineral balance. No foam, no dyes, just science-backed minerals that really work. Cleaner, whiter, stronger. That's the Primal Life promise. Visit primallifeorganics.com/Zen for 15% off. Detox your smile today.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to a Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. This is the We Play It Forward segment where we spotlight changemakers using their platforms for purpose. And today's headline says it all. Play, purpose, and powerful partnerships. Two titans are playing it forward in the fight against Alzheimer's. They're going to be joining us in just a bit. Now, here's the topic that hits home. Alzheimer's disease affects nearly 7 million Americans, with 1 in 3 seniors passing away with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. The toll isn't just emotional, it's financial, with over $360 billion in annual care-related costs. But through community connection and a little bit of competitive spirit, there's hope. That's where the We Play It Forward Foundation comes in, founded in loving memory of Susie Rosenblatt. It's more than a fundraiser, it's a movement. And it supports 5 incredible beneficiaries: the Alzheimer's Foundation of America, Alzheimer's Association Long Island Chapter, Gerwin Healthcare System, Mid-Island YJCC, and the Suffolk YJCC. Joining me today are 2 incredible forces behind this mission. Bruce Weinstein is a philanthropic powerhouse and an executive advisor dedicated to purposeful impact. And John Lee Esq is a founding member of Horn & Lee, former Queen's ADA, and a legal strategist representing some of the world's most influential corporations. Together, we're going to dive into this powerful partnership and how they've both been playing it forward. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Good morning, Zen.
Good morning, Zen.
So excited to have you. Bruce, I'm going to start with you. So fundraising rooted in joy, like golf tournaments and private concerts, silent auctions and raffles, has become one of the most effective ways to keep donors engaged. According to Giving USA, events that actually blend social interaction with mission-driven action can increase retention by 30% or more. So what inspired you to get involved with the We Play It Forward Foundation, and how has your role evolved since stepping into a leadership position?
So, Zen, I have always been an avid sports fan and participant, and I've run a corporate event for the past 20 years. And a year ago, John actually approached me and said, your event has a wonderful flow. Would you consider doing a charitable tie-in to this to elevate it to the next level? I immediately said, no, want nothing to do with that. After multiple dinners, conversations, I saw the light and I said, something? Everybody loves sports. And the reality is that people that get involved are passionate about things. And it's not the what, it's the who. You find passionate people, light a match, and wonderful things happen. And I unfortunately had a front row seat to seeing what Alzheimer's and, dementia does to a family, not only to the individual, but to the surrounding family. And I said to John, I'm in.
That's beautiful, Bruce. It's clear that for you, this isn't just philanthropy, it's personal. I mean, you've turned honoring a legacy into an engine of hope for so many families. So thank you. John, so excited to have you on, my friend.
Love to being here.
So your career in law spans everything from criminal prosecution to representing major international corporations. Yet here you are, lending that influence to a cause rooted in compassion and memory. What inspired you personally to support the We Play It Forward Foundation, and how has your legal background shaped your approach to philanthropy?
In terms of my background, I represent a lot of companies as outside general counsel, and I see Alzheimer's in terms of family members and in terms of every aspect of society being impacted by this terrible illness, which, unless you have a real loved one or family member, impacted, you don't really realize the devastation that it causes the family and the loved ones surrounding, because it's a cognitive death, before the physical one. And in terms of being a lawyer, I have the network of influence that I could really cultivate and try to have the foot soldiers to support this foundation and the cause. So I'm very excited.
That's incredibly grounded, John. Bridging legal discipline with emotional intention. That's what legacy leadership really does look like. You're doing a great job. And I love your motivation. My grandmother's currently battling dementia at 86 years old. At this point, it might very well have turned into Alzheimer's, but my mom is her primary caregiver, and it is so hard to watch. It's devastating. And when it does hit home, you want to do something about it. So thank you for supporting us in this mission. Now, Bruce, many organizations fundraise, but few manage to build long-term emotional connection like we played forward. It's not just about writing a check, it's about showing up. What sets this foundation apart from others you've supported, and where do you see it growing in the next 5 years?
The underlying theme is let's raise awareness and revenue for Alzheimer's. How do you do that? It's more than just writing a check. What we decided was we wanted to partner with sponsorship. We wanted to partner with participants to make the event, yes, all about Alzheimer's, but something that they want to immediately engage in next time. So that when they walked away from the experience, not only did they check the philanthropic box, but they had an experience viscerally that they connected to doing a play it forward type of an activity, be it golf or poker.
Yes, and that kind of vision makes donors feel like they're part of something real. Like you mentioned, it's clear this foundation isn't slowing down. It's scaling impact in every direction. I'm so excited to be part of it. Now, John, families affected by Alzheimer's often face complex legal challenges, from power of attorney issues to long-term care planning. And sadly, too many fall through the cracks. So how do you believe legal professionals can better advocate for families impacted by Alzheimer's, both in and out of the courtroom?
I mean, the biggest problem you have is trying to solve a problem when it's too late, because you're talking about cognitive decline. So you're dealing with a situation where the person that is the decision maker doesn't have the mental capacity at that point to make the decision, and you have everyone with conflicting interest fighting for that decision making. And once you get to that point, then it just becomes a legal issue on many fronts. So I guess identifying the problem early and setting the groundwork and all the legal mechanisms to prepare for the inevitable is the key in preventing a lot of issues on multiple fronts. It could be the protection of the individual that is declining, as well as protecting the caregivers, because you're talking about a mental decline, there's a lot of challenges to that. There's accusations that could be thrown around because the person is in a dream state. So the person in a dream state is not thinking rationally, and they're making certain statements and certain accusations that has legal consequences. And unless that is addressed and you're able to anticipate things like that and make plans accordingly, you're always going to have problems. So that is a lot of the catch-22 and a lot of the situations that people are in that sends the legal ramifications, in a spiral position. Yeah. So I think preparing early for this condition and this situation is the key.
Now, Bruce, you've worked with donors at every level, from private philanthropists to corporate sponsors. And what they all want today is meaningful return on involvement, right? return on involvement. What would you say to individual donors or potential sponsors who are still on the fence about getting involved?
I think the critical difference between what we're doing and possibly some of the other organizations is we are shifting from sponsor to partner. We really want to consider what can be reciprocal in an introduction, in an opportunity, in curating something that makes sense for that partner that may not be available elsewhere, where they're writing a check, they're getting a T sign, adios, the moment the event is over. Our goal is to keep their name in our world for the forward-facing 12 months so that when the event ends, the relationship didn't stop there, but it continues so that there, in fact, is value, because so many of the donors that are out there, and God bless the donors, they're very philanthropic, but they write a check, they check the box, that's it. If we pay attention to, in the spirit of Stephen Covey, filling their rice bowl, how do we help them? How do we approach it from that lens? I believe that we then check the box of partner versus sponsor and continue a relationship at a much higher value.
Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, transparency, impact, and heart. That's what people are looking for. And you've just made the case perfectly clear. Now, John, you've represented brands like Samsung, LG, and Bonchon, but Alzheimer's doesn't care about net worth. It touches every community, every background. What message would you give to fellow leaders in the legal and business space about why We Play It Forward is a cause worth supporting?
I think in terms of, especially for my clients that I represent, what I tell them is, you have to be philanthropic regardless of who you're supporting. I think that it is important, whether it's through our organization. I hope it's through our organization, but I think that in general, you have to participate. You have to give back to the community. There's great organizations out there, and We Play Forward. We collaborate with a lot of the great charity organizations, and we will be, building on our platform even more. But I guess business leaders, legal professionals, they need to get involved in philanthropy because that's the only way that they could give back, to causes, and the causes need desperately the support from the business as well as legal, as every aspect of society.
Yeah, you nailed it. When leadership meets compassion, movements are actually born. And I hope every CEO and managing partner listening heard you loud and clear, because it's important to urge people and to remind people that social activism is extremely important, because your community will always be there for you when no one else is. And that's the most important thing, to have that community or that organization to lean on. So you said it right. Well, we are officially at the end of our date, my dear friends. Thank you so much for coming on. I learned so much. I can't wait to kick this off. This foundation is incredible in every way, and the both of you have such a clear, direct mission on where you want this to go long term that I have no doubt in my mind it's going to be a success.
Thank you.
Zen, we appreciate you, and we're going to make it fun-fueling philanthropy and knock it out of the park.
And to our audience, if you're ready to get involved, visit WePlayItForwardFoundation.org to register for their upcoming Golf Classic event on August 21st at the Muttontown Club. You can donate or simply learn how you can help fuel hope in the fight against Alzheimer's. You could head to the Instagram page at We Play It Forward Foundation. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by the We Play It Forward Foundation. Tee off and give back at their annual golf outing August 21st at the Muttontown Club to fuel hope in the fight against Alzheimer's. Enjoy 18 holes, food and drink, a silent auction, raffles, and more. Head to WePlayItForwardFoundation.org to learn more. Register and donate.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift. In our Expert on the Microphone series, today we're joined by Jessica Ursman. She's a freelance writer and beauty editor for publications such as Forbes, Harper's Bazaar, Allure, Elle, Pop Sugar, and that's just to name a few. Her professional coverage includes celebrity interviews and reporting in beauty, fashion, and wellness, spanning topics ranging from skincare, cosmetics, and plastic surgery to health, integrative wellness, and functional medicine. She's going to join me right now to chat about how the media is shaping the conversation around aesthetics and how she identifies and breaks down the latest cutting-edge skincare treatments and products in her work. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
I'm so excited to have you, my expert. Let's dive right in. So you've written for some of the most iconic publications in beauty and wellness. What initially drew you to this space, and how do you break down sometimes complex medical topics for the average reader in a way that's both informative and approachable?
So I wanted to be a writer, and it really just came down to the fact that beauty and wellness are my passions. And during grad school, so originally my career was to be a therapist, but during grad school, I developed really intense hormonal acne. Through that experience, I learned so much about the skin. After my big break into writing, it was a fashion editor that sort of mentored me and took me under her wing. And so that's how I had the in to write about beauty. And then as for breaking down sort of tough medical topics, what it really comes down to is asking my experts so many questions. I mean, an annoying number of questions.
I love that.
I get really detailed until I feel like I understand. And then it's kind of just like having a conversation with the reader.
That's amazing. And as someone whose work revolves around the latest advancements in the beauty and wellness world, why do you find it so crucial to understand and clearly explain the science behind the treatments you cover? I mean, why should consumers look beyond the before and after photos and take the time to research and understand the science before committing to a treatment?
It really comes down to proper informed consent. And the reason I say that is that particularly with certain invasive procedures, what you're hearing, the marketing jargon is often misleading and different from what's actually happening. It becomes even more complicated because experts often disagree. So it can become really tricky. It really comes down to being an informed consumer and understanding what's happening so that you can make the best decision for what will work for you, and also understand what can potentially go wrong, because you don't often hear that.
Yeah, doing the research is so critical, and I love that writers like you are out there doing the research for us. It's great. Now, let's chat a bit about CO2 Lift, a company with products that have certainly proven to have staying power and heavy scientific backing. I know you're a big fan of the CO2 Lift Pro Gel Carboxy Mask and have spoken highly about it online, and are even quoted saying, worked magic on your facial dermatitis, taking away the redness with a single application. I mean, that's a pretty big endorsement. Talk to me more about your experience with the mask and what makes it a staple in your routine.
So this actually ties into what we were just talking about. I was assigned a story for a laser that caused me to develop persistent and chronic facial dermatitis. In the beginning, I had no idea what to do to get rid of it. Never had it before. It was almost like the tip of my nose was chafed and wouldn't heal, and it started spreading from my nose down to the side of my mouth. Dermatologists were prescribing me all sorts of things. I remember I had to give a celebrity interview, and I had dermatitis on my face, and I was so embarrassed. So through that process, what I'd essentially learned is that this laser had so dried out my skin and compromised my barrier that my skin's microbiome fell into dysbiosis. So from then on, treatments that would help restore my skin barrier and also bring the microbiome back into balance became critical. So CO2 Lift is incredible for the skin barrier and takes away redness. I mean, I use it after laser treatments, after microneedling, but I also do it weekly. And when I have a dermatitis flare, it's so anti-inflammatory and soothing that it becomes one of the first steps. But the other thing to note is that I use it in conjunction with a microbiome serum by BioJuve, which is important to do because oxygenating treatments are great, but they can kill off bacteria that is essential for the balance of your skin biome.
Yeah, it makes total sense. It's all interrelated. And aside from CO2 lift's monotherapy benefits, it's also often paired with in-office treatments pre or post-procedure to enhance both the results and recovery, again, utilizing the body's natural oxygenation process to increase that blood flow. But now, recently as a whole, regenerative medicine has taken the aesthetic world by storm, if you look at it, from exosomes to PRP and stem cell-derived ingredients. In your experience, what are some of the most exciting or credible, if you will, innovations you've seen emerge in this area?
One, nanofat. They will harvest a little bit of your fat. They purify it through a series of grates so that what you're left with, there's no more of the volumizing tissue, but you still have all the regenerative ingredients that are supporting the fat cell. So certain cytokines and growth factors, and they're at this concentration that makes it so much more powerful than, say, PRP. And of course, the other big ingredient are the stem cells. So what they do with nanofat, they can either combine it with PRP or on its own, inject it via a cannula under the skin. So that's the first one, nanofat. The other thing that is starting to become really big is called a secretome. And so there are serums on the market that will take a donor stem cell. And what makes the stem cells so magical for anti-aging or healing is what it secretes. So they put it in a dish in a lab and culture it, and it's secreting all of these growth factors and cytokines, the very same ingredients I was mentioning for nanofat. They can collect them, put them in a serum, and you can apply it topically. But what a company actually called Acorn Biolabs is starting to do now, instead of taking your own fat, which was pretty invasive, they pluck 50 hairs from your head. They're able to extract your stem cell from the hair follicle, and then they bank it. And
wow.
Yeah, so they proliferate it in the lab, and they're able to collect those same regenerative ingredients from your stem cell, turn it into a serum, and then when you go in for a microneedling treatment or a laser, instead of having blood drawn for PRP, you have your secretome of your very own stem cell secretions that you can apply to your face afterwards. And
Wow.
I was just the first journalist actually to do that like 2 weeks ago. And I think that's something that's really exciting just because how it's revolutionizing the ability to harvest your stem cell and then use those regenerative ingredients.
Wow, so fascinating. Stuff like that blows my mind. I learn something new every day on this show by the experts, and it's amazing that you broke it down so easily. Like, I actually understand what it does and what it's for. So thank you for that clarification. And now lastly, before we wrap up, as someone who has their finger on the pulse of both the beauty and media industry, what role do you think the media plays in shaping healthier or more mindful conversations around aesthetic treatments today?
I think it's really important not just to repeat what brands and experts are saying, but to learn to discern between the experts. I learned pretty early on that experts that I love even will disagree on just about everything. So when I'm reporting, rather than trying to take a stance, often it's hearing the discourse between the experts and then putting that out there, because again, I think that's what empowers the reader or consumer to be able to make proper informed consent with their decision making and their, aesthetic and wellness trajectory.
Yeah, and media is responsible for a lot of misinformation, and so is TikTok, and so is Instagram. So I love that the real journalists that are writing about these procedures, like yourself, are out there at the front lines, demystifying all those stigmas, right? So thank you for doing a great job and for keeping us informed.
I try to.
Well, thank you for joining us today. It was such a pleasure having you. I learned so much, and I know so will the audience.
Thank you so much again.
That was our Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift, and that was the incredible Jessica Ursman, beauty and wellness journalist and editor. You can learn more about her and check her out on the gram at Jessica Gray Ursman, and you can head directly to her website at jessicagray.ursman.com. And her name is spelled in a unique way. It's Jessica Gray, Ourisman. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase in luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to co2lift.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Are you looking to build a new home? Think about building a barn-dominium. There's just something about getting away from it all. Country living, fresh air, and outdoor entertainment. Watch luxury barn-dominium tours on Your Home TV and let Stacy Lynn, the barn-dominium lady, take you on a journey through her barn-dominium designs.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. In our health tip of the week brought to you by Suspera, today we're chatting about often overlooked areas when it comes to skincare, your hands and neck. While most people focus on protecting their face from the sun, hands and neck are actually among the first areas to show signs of aging, sun damage, and pigmentation. Experts remind us to extend sunscreen application to those areas daily and to reapply after hand washing to prevent dark spots from developing over time. Prevention and consistency are key, and giving your neck and hands the same attention as your face can go a long way in maintaining youthful, healthy-looking skin. That was our Suspera health tip of the week. Be sure to check them out online at suspera.com and on the gram at Suspera. That's CYSPERA. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Suspera. If skin discoloration is making it hard to find your Zen, Suspera can help. Stubborn pigmentation, dark spots, and uneven skin tone concerns go beyond the surface, affecting both confidence and self-expression. In a sea of skincare choices, Suspera stands apart. Backed by science and trusted by dermatologists worldwide, Suspera is powered by the advanced cysteamine isobonic amide complex, delivering clinically proven results and effectively targeting mild to persistent discoloration while restoring the skin's natural glow. Unlike harsh treatments, Suspera is formulated for all skin types, including sensitive areas, ensuring visible improvements without irritation. Whether pigmentation is a new concern or a long-standing struggle, Suspera works in harmony with the skin to bring balance, clarity, and renewed confidence. Suspera is science-driven skincare for confidence that shines. Find your skin zen and restore your glow with Suspera today by heading to Suspera.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, the clean, functional coconut water helping people live fully hydrated lives. Today's story is truly one for the history books and for the heart. He lost 80% of his body and found 100% of his purpose. Joey Dimeo's radical second chance at life is what we're chatting about. Imagine waking up from a coma with burns covering 80% of your body, only to become the first person in the world to receive a successful face and double hand transplant. But Joey's journey doesn't just stop at medical headlines. It blossoms into a powerful love story with his now wife, Jessica. We're chatting resilience, medical miracles, and the power of unexpected love. How Joey turned unspeakable trauma into a love story and a message of hope. What does life look like when you've survived the unthinkable and found love in the process? Joey is here to share it all. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
So excited to have you. Wow. So let's start at the moment that everything changed in July of 2018. Your car accident left you with burns covering over 80% of your body, and you were in a coma for nearly 3.5 months. Now, interestingly, when you look at these stats, Joey, according to the American Burn Association, over 400,000 people seek treatment for burn injuries each year, but very few survive injuries as extensive as yours. So what do you remember about waking up from that coma? And when did you first realize just how serious things were?
Well, the first thing I said when I woke up from my coma was, my mom was there and asked her, how are the rims on my car? And then where's my belt that I had on? Because I worked hard for that belt.
Oh, boy.
I had to wait for the doctors to come in and tell me, like, yeah, you're 80% burned. Your fingers were amputated off. I just, went my thoughts and just trying to move on and just kept trying to do my therapy sessions.
Hearing you say that the first thing you asked was about your rims, it really just captures the surreal shock of all of the whole moment, right? I mean, you brought humor into something unimaginable and then probably had a rude awakening. Now, when you talk about surviving was only the beginning. Then the transplant surgery you underwent in August of 2020 was the first of its kind in the world. So from psychological testing to organ compatibility screenings, I mean, the year-long evaluation process you endured was rigorous beyond belief. Can you walk us through what it actually takes to qualify for a face and double hand transplant and how you stayed mentally strong through that waiting period?
Yeah, like it was a very long process. My parents basically drove me in every day. Not to get like super medical because I don't know that deeply about it. They basically had to like match like the skin color. I'm assuming the height because I'm 6'1", so has to match the bone density in your forearm, blood type. But like the worst part of all that testing was testing for the nerves. And that's where they stick a needle deep down to your muscles.
Oh.
And then you have to activate your muscles. So
now I want to move on to your coma experience. So nearly 1 in 5 people who've been in comas report some form of awareness, whether it's light, sound, or surreal dreams. And according to a 2023 study in Brain Communications, many survivors of long-term comas recall vivid hallucinations or even spiritual encounters. Do you remember anything from those 3.5 months? Any dreams, voices, visions, anything at all that stayed with you?
Oh, yeah. I have a lot of dreams that I'll probably never, ever say and keep to myself. But like the one dream that I would consider spiritual is when I was walking my dog that passed away back in like 2012 or 13. He passed away and that was my first dog. And it was just me walking him up the hill that I grew up on. It was just constantly just walking up the hill. Like it felt like forever. And I was like, oh, I think this is it. This is my, this is the next chapter, I guess. And then, I woke up out of the coma. But that was the only like spiritual thing I would consider I'd say I had. The rest are just like the movie Hostel dreams. Like you feel pain too in the coma. That's another thing. You feel the pain when they take off all the bandages and everything. You also hear people talk to you. So like the nurses told my parents, hey, talk to him, play music. And I guess that's where all like the old dreams come up.
Wow. That just gave me goosebumps. Now let's talk about the actual surgery. The procedure took nearly 23 hours, from my understanding, involved over 140 healthcare professionals, and it was a historic medical milestone. Now, only a few full face transplants have ever been attempted globally, and yours was the first with both hands. So what was your mindset going into the operating room, and how did you prepare for that kind of risk, emotionally and physically?
Physically, I think physically was the hardest because I had to lose 10 pounds because COVID did me dirty. I gained a lot of weight during COVID. So my doctor's like, you got to lose that weight to do the surgery. You have to be somewhat healthy. So that was the hardest part. The mental part was somewhat easy because I wanted the surgery. I said yes to it instantly when I got offered it. And I knew like I can die. My doctor did tell me a lot. You can die. So I understood all the process. When Dr. Rios came in at like 4 o'clock in the morning, I asked him, how come aren't we starting yet? You're here, why aren't we starting? So I was ready before the whole operating room was ready. And I think I was just ready for it. I was just mentally prepared. I'm more nervous to get my cataract surgery than I was my face and double hand transplant surgery because, I don't know, I think I had a lot of trust in my doctor and
you knew you were in the right hands.
Yeah.
And it's not about the surgery. It's about the hands.
Yeah, like who the doctor is and what
100%.
He's about.
Listen, what you're describing is so real and so human and so transparent. And you weren't just hoping for survival. You were hoping for a second chance to live again. And that's a different kind of bravery. Now, recovery didn't stop after surgery. You underwent hundreds of hours of occupational therapy to relearn basic functions like holding objects or facial expressions. So can you describe the most meaningful milestone during your rehab journey? Something that made you say, I'm really back.
I think when I met my dog Buster again, I got to play with him because when I was burned, I couldn't throw a ball or hold on to his toys or nothing. I just could pet him. But after I actually got to play with him with actual hands again, I think that was a huge milestone outside the hospital. But inside the hospital, just picking up little things or holding a water bottle, those are huge milestones that people do every day. I wasn't able to do that at all, but now I can.
Yeah, listen, Joey, it's those small victories that outsiders might not think about, but regaining something as simple as a smile or grip strength, that's real progress in your books. So you're doing great, buddy. Now, your story made international headlines. You were even in People magazine, but behind the scenes, you found something even more personal and powerful: love. Your now wife, Jessica. So tell us how that first DM turned into a marriage built on understanding, healing, and purpose.
Yes, that's my story is out. People were following me. I clicked on her profile and I DM'd her about her dog. And if she didn't have Kirkland, who's a Boston Terrier, I would have never DM'd her. If she had a golden retriever, she wouldn't have gotten that I like your dog DM. But yes, I just DM'd her I like your dog, and it's from there. It wasn't like the awkward 21 questions you typically do. It was just a natural conversation that led into marriage now.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Now, today you're building your brand, 80% Gone. You're active on social. You're a source of hope for people dealing with trauma and facial differences. What message do you hope people, especially those feeling hopeless, take away from your journey?
I don't feel takeaway. Just try to learn from you. I like to stay in my own lane and worry about myself. And when you worry about yourself, you don't really matter what people think about you, because they have their own problems and their own days, and it's they're gonna stare at you for 30 seconds or less than that, judge you for 5 seconds, and move on with their day. So why let that 30-second stare ruin your day? So that's how I look at things, because everyone stares at me. I'm 6'1". I got love handles. It's nothing nothing pretty to look at. But just move on with my day. I got my own things to think about. They have their own things to think about.
You do you, and I love that you're just doing you.
Yeah.
That's the definition of also using your platform for good, because you're a role model, showing the world that you're not hiding behind your scars. You're showing us how to live through them and beyond them, and that's really inspirational. Now, on your website, 80%gone.shop, your story is front and center, but so is your style and self-expression. I love that. How has fashion or even creativity helped you take ownership of your image and identity after the transplant?
I always had a thing for fashion. I just never expressed it until I turned 18, and I got to buy my own clothes and do my own shopping. But I don't know. I feel like if you dress good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. So it's just I just want to inspire other people too with my clothing, and it's okay to dress outlandish and just be yourself. Who cares? I wear bell bottoms once in a blue moon nowadays, and I have a chuckle with it. I think if you have a chuckle with your outfit, you're gonna have a pretty good night out.
I love bell bottoms. Are you kidding me? They're never out of fashion in my playbook. And there's something really powerful about reclaiming how the world sees you. You kind of did that through your clothing line. You turned it into a brand, and that's strength, but it's also artistry. So yeah, definitely you have some artistic flair. Now, with everything you've been through, coma, transplant, love, recovery, what's something about you that people would be shocked to learn? A guilty pleasure, a surprising skill, or maybe even an irrational fear?
Irrational fear is swimming in the ocean at night. That's scary. For my biggest fear.
Really?
Yeah, I probably will never get over that. I'm actually a pretty good driver. When I was 18, my dad took me to a test racetrack, and I got to drive a Lambo 4 GTR with a professional driver. So I got taught to drive by a professional driver. So I'm good at driving, just not while I'm sleeping after overnight
might want to
shift.
rethink that one.
And I'm a really good cook. I would say it'll take me 3 tries, and after the 4th try, it'll be really good.
That's amazing and totally unexpected. I didn't realize you could cook, but hey, listen, kudos to you. You continue to surprise us in the best ways. Joy, we are at the end of this incredible interview. I can't thank you enough for reminding us that healing isn't just medical, it's mental, it's emotional, and even romantic. And I hear that there's incredible prosperity in the works for you starting a family soon. So no pressure from us over here at iHeart headquarters, but we are rooting for you.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
To follow his journey, shop his brand, or just soak up his infectious optimism, head to 80percentgone.shop, and you could follow him on the gram at 80percentgone. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. That was the Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could head to 710WOR.iHeart.com/A Moment of Zen. Also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, and all episodes of A Moment of Zen are now available on your home TV and Kathy Ireland worldwide streaming platform. You could head directly to mox.yourhometv.com. Thank you for listening to us. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make this show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. We'll be back next week.